Apparently, the Trump administration policy with regard to separating children from parents, which is mandated by law, if you're going to arrest people criminally for crossing the border, you cannot keep their kids in custody. We discussed this at length over the last several days. There's a court ruling from 2016 in which the court declared that you cannot keep kids together with their parents. In fact, the Obama administration used to keep kids together with their parents in detention proceedings, and then they were sued. They were sued on the basis that this was being used as a deterrent to illegal immigration, because how dare you keep children imprisoned? These are innocent kids. Why would you keep them with their parents in prison? Okay, so the left sort of wants it both ways. They don't want you to be able to keep the kids in prison with the parents, but they also don't want you to separate the parents from the kids, which leaves only one solution, of course, which is release the parents, which is really what they want out of this entire thing. Now, how do I know that this is what they want from the entire spiel here? Well, because while the Democrats are out there saying Nazi, 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 Nazi about all of this policy, and let's be real, I did not see that coming. While they're saying all of this about Nazi policy from the right is actually attempting to solve this. So Republicans came forward yesterday. Ted Cruz came forward yesterday with a bill that would fix all of this and say that children can stay with their parents in detention centers until all of the proceedings have gone forward. So what did Senate Democratic leader Chuck Schumer do? He dismissed the legislative proposal. He said there are so many obstacles to legislation, and when the president can do it with his own pen, it makes no sense. Legislation is not the way to go here when it's so easy for the president to sign it. And then asked if that meant Democrats would not support a bill backed by Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell to keep immigrant families together while seeking asylum on the U.S. border. Schumer said they want to keep the focus on Trump. Again, quote, the president can change it with his pen. Unacceptable additions have bogged down every piece of legislation we've done. So in other words, it's Nazi policy, but if the Republicans try to fix it, they're also Nazis, which is pretty convenient for the Democrats. And as I said, the media coverage of this particular issue has led Democrats to believe that the issue doesn't need to be solved. It instead should be used as a club to wield against everybody that you don't like. This is the plan by people like Chuck Schumer on the left. You can't have it both ways. Either the policy is straight from Japanese internment camps in Nazi Germany, in which case you should be for anything that would alleviate the policy, or the policy is not that bad, in which case maybe we should argue over the policy. But the Democrats want to say that the policy is awful, it's evil, it's Nazi-esque, it's Japanese internment in 1942. It's all of those things, but we're not going to work to solve it because it's all on Trump. Okay, all of which suggests that a lot of the Democratic tears on this are crocodile tears for political gain. Now, I'm not going to say that everybody who's upset over this policy is faking it, because I don't think that's right. I think a lot of people are upset over this policy. Listen, I don't think it's a great policy. I think it's a bad policy. But I also think that keeping kids interned with parents is not a great policy either. There is no great policy when it comes to illegal immigration. In the end, as with war games, the only winning move is not to play. Right? If you don't want illegal immigrants separated from their families or alternatively kept with their families in detention, don't illegally immigrate. You're going to have to deter illegal immigration. That is the only solution because, again, you can't say that you want kids to stay with the families, but you also want kids released. It's either one or the other. You can't have it both ways. But it seems that the left is more interested in promulgating a particular feeling about this policy than they are about solving it. It's just like gun control. Every time there's a mass shooting, the left decides that it's necessary to have these vast displays of emotion, these vast displays of empathy, and then they don't actually get anything done because the policies they call for have nothing to do with actually stopping the crime at issue. Well, the same thing is happening here. The Republicans have proposed a legislative fix. The Democrats are running away from that legislative fix. Now they're urging President Trump to go ahead and make an executive decision to simply overrule the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals decision in Flores and keep the kids together with their parents. How long do you think it will take for another lawsuit to be filed saying that it's unconstitutional for the kids to remain together with their parents or that it is a violation of the 1997 Flores agreement with the federal government? It'll take exactly 5 seconds because we just had those lawsuits. Again, the Obama administration kept children with parents. They were sued not to do that. They changed their policy. Not only did they change their policy, they had said that they were keeping the kids together with their parents as a deterrent. And the court said you're not allowed to do that. And now they're saying you can't release the kids. So you can't keep the kids and you can't release the kids because all the left really wants is everyone released. Well, all the emotion that's coming out from this is on one level understandable, on another level irritating if you're not going to propose any solution. So Rachel Maddow last night on MSNBC, she broke down on air talking about migrant babies being detained. Now, look, nobody is happy with the idea of 12-month-old babies. I have a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old. No one likes the idea of a 2-year-old being removed from their parents and crying for mommy and daddy. Nobody likes this, which is why I've been saying legislative fix from literally the first day that this controversy broke onto the scene. But I will just point out that Rachel Maddow has no such sympathy for the hundreds of thousands of babies who are killed in the womb every year. She has no such sympathy for kids who are removed from their parents when parents are arrested for domestic crimes. Rachel Maddow seems to me to be using emotion as a sort of baton in order to try and drive a particular narrative. And that narrative, by the way, is not creating solutions. Again, that narrative is designed to let Democrats prevent solutions. That narrative is designed to allow Democrats to emotionally manipulate the American public without working to fix the problem in the first place. Here's Rachel Maddow / Michael Knowles last night.
Trump administration officials have been sending babies and other young children hold on, to at least three tender age shelters in South Texas. Lawyers and medical providers just think I'm going to have to hand this off.
Okay, the tender age shelters, by the way, have existed since 2010 under the Obama administration. I'll say this, as somebody who covers the news every day, I'm not a big fan of histrionics on air. Again, I'm sure that this is legit from Rachel Maddow. Okay, I'm not going to say that I don't think that she feels this way. I'm sure she does feel this way. But all of us who are in the television business, all of us who are on camera on a regular basis, I would suggest that it is not a good look for us to get so emotional about issues that we can't discuss them rationally. Yeah, but emotional investment in issues actually prevents rational discussion of those issues. But I think the emotional investment is the entire point at this point. I think it's become all about feelings and very little about policy. For example, here's an NPR anchor. Her last name is Hinojosa, and she says that this is just like the Nazis. It's exactly like the Nazis on MSNBC.
Elie Wiesel, may he rest in peace, what he said to me was, he said, you know, the Nazis had it perfectly correct. They declared us an illegal people. That's how it began. We were declared an illegal people as Jews.
Right.
And that follows that. And it's a very horrible thing to make these comparisons. But if you think about the level of dehumanization where we have arrived, where children are being taken, there's an art there.
Okay, no, there isn't. You're an idiot. You're an idiot. Okay, first, I would like to point out that everybody in America seems to have read Harry Potter and once heard of people called the Nazis, and every single issue must fit into one of these two frameworks, into these two idiotic frameworks. Either everything is a Harry Potter do-over or everybody's a Nazi. Not everything you dislike is Nazi policy, gang. Read a fricking book. If you really believe that Nazi policy was to have a process of law whereby people who were illegally attempting to enter Nazi Germany were temporarily separated from their children for the protection of the children because we didn't want to hold the children in incarcerated custody, and then they were reunited with those children when people were deported, if you really think that was Nazi policy, it's because you're a moron. As far as the notion of dehumanization, it is not dehumanizing. The whole point here is that the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, the most liberal court in America, held that it is a better policy to force parents and children to be separated than to leave children with parents in custody in the first place. Again, this was not Trump coming up with, you know what would be a nefarious, evil idea if we took those kids away from those parents. That is an effectuation of law. Once you arrest people, the kids have to be removed by force of law. Now, it seems that today Trump wants to change that by executive order. We'll see if he's even allowed to get away with that. It'll go straight to court. It'll probably be overturned. Because in the end, there is really an agenda here. But it drives me nuts when people start invoking the Nazis when the policy that is being discussed has nothing to do with the Nazis. Nazi is not just shorthand for stuff I don't like. Crying Nazi is like crying wolf now. There are actual Nazis. Okay? There are actually people in the world who believe the same thing the Nazis did. The Iranian regime believes the same thing the Nazis did when it comes to extermination of the Jews. Okay? There are lots of people across the world who believe in Nazi-esque policy with regard to eugenic abortion, for example. There are lots of people across the world who believe Nazi-esque fiscal policy. But in order for you to make a comparison, you can't just say, look at that Trump. He probably has a swastika in his basement. The only thing separating Trump from Hitler is the mustache. You actually have to explain why the policy that you say you oppose is truly Nazi-esque. And to say that it's all about dehumanization, it's too vague. It's not about dehumanization. We're not saying that these people should be taken out and gassed. We're not saying that people should be taken out and shot. I'm not happy with the treatment here. But to suggest that there is anything remotely resembling Nazi policy happening here is insulting to Americans. It's insulting to the Trump administration. It's insulting to the people who carry it out. It really is insulting to the ICE agents, I'd like to point out, because we've been brought up on the notion that you don't get to follow a bad order. You don't get to follow an evil order, that if somebody tells you to go out in public and shoot some innocent bystander, that you have to refuse that order, right? Or the Nuremberg defense, I was only following orders, doesn't apply morally. Are we really now suggesting that ICE agents are the equivalent of Nazis? The ICE agents who are carrying out these orders to separate the kids, as per policy promulgated by the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, that those people are exactly the same as the brown shirts or the Auschwitz guards? Is that really what we are saying here now? And it's constant, right? Soledad O'Brien tweeted the same thing out. Soledad O'Brien tweeted out, quote, well, I guess we've put to rest the question, Nazi Germany. Could it happen here in America? She tweets out that Nazi Germany could happen here. Now, I've always believed that the rise of fascism in Germany is an inexplicable phenomenon. People tend to treat it as though the entire country just went crazy all of a sudden. The entire country just suddenly decided that they were going to start exterminating Jews and going to war with all the surrounding countries. And when you actually spend a fair bit of time studying the rise of Nazi Germany, as I have, then what you will see is that there was an organic process by which the Nazis ended up taking over Germany, and actually the dictatorship pre-existed the Nazis, that the existence of a dictatorial power in the center of German government pre-existed the Nazis, began about 1930, culminated in 1932. It was essentially a non-elected government, or at least if it was elected, it was running not along the basis of a legislature for a long time in Germany before the Nazis even took power. I've always believed that human beings can slide into evil a lot more easily than we like to think that we could. But what Soledad O'Brien is saying, which is that we are now like Nazi Germany, or we're becoming like Nazi Germany when we separate kids from parents at the border. Okay, what's your alternative? I'm fine with not separating kids from parents at the border. So is Ted Cruz. So is Donald Trump. But the Democrats don't want any sort of policy that will fix this, which demonstrates full scale that all of this is really just emotional manipulation by the left.